Hi, this is John Beatty, and you're listening to the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast.
Greetings, Cap fans, and welcome to episode 107 of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. I'm your host, Rick Verbanis, and as always, I'm joined by the best gosh darn co-host out there. That would be Mr. Bob Lucius. Hey, Bob. I said, Bob, I was going to do some sort of like Halloween knock joke, but they were all so bad. So that was going to be like my hello to you. But I couldn't find any that were not cringeworthy. I mean, all right, here you go, Bob. And this isn't a knock joke, but it is Halloween. Bob, what's an optimistic vampire's favorite drink?
I don't know, Rick. What is an optimistic vampire's favorite drink?
Be positive.
I actually like that one.
That's like the best I could come up with.
I like that one. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So why are we doing Halloween? Well, obviously, I don't know when you people are listening to this. I mean, a lot of you listen in the first day or a couple days, and this is supposed to be coming out on October 26th. So we're 5 days away. We've got Halloween, and so we thought we'd do a Halloween tie-in. And so today we're going to be covering, Bob, Captain America 326.
What?
Yeah, Captain America 326. The one where it says on the cover, "Trick or Treat," and came out in, what was that? 1987.
Well, Rick, I want you to know, because I know you often bring up the fact that perhaps I come into these recording sessions a little bit unprepared. And I want you to know that...
it's not just me. Like the listeners pointed out, too.
Oh, I know. Really?
Yeah.
Well,
Kevin's got reviews that say it.
They will be glad to know that I put in the effort this week. I put in the time.
Great.
I set aside some time
Thank you.
to read through an issue. To prepare myself tonight, make sure I had all my ducks in a row, did my background research.
Do you want a cookie, Bob? Because that's what you're supposed to do.
Well, I just want to warn you, it wasn't this issue.
What do you mean, Bob?
So, we talked about this, and I vaguely remember, Rick, and I apologize because I know from the expressions on my face, it looks like I'm hanging on every word. but that's not always the case. And in this case, I thought that we were doing issue 370.
370?
Yeah, Return to Skull House. I vaguely remember you saying something about Skull House in a return of some kind. And so I am ready to go with issue 370. What issue are we doing?
Bob, I clearly messaged you earlier today when you said to me at 10:18 this morning, what's on the docket for tonight? As I'm in the middle of my job, I'm working, and I'm actually in a meeting, a very important meeting with my boss and some new colleagues. And I see this message. I'm like, well, I can't wait hours to respond to him because maybe this is his free time of the day to do this. Right. Yeah. So I very,
also,
slyly,
I'm a 10:30 morning lunch person. I'm sorry, I didn't know if you knew that, but it's this whole intermittent fasting thing. I get really hungry, so 10:30 lunch. So I'm calling you on my lunchtime.
Yeah. So I'm in the middle of this important meeting. I slide out my phone and just casually, and so I give you a message back, and this is what it says. It says Cap 329. I think ? And then I described it. It's the Return to Skull House that says Trick or Treat on the cover.
Oh, see, now that's where our wires got crossed, right? Because I honed in on Return to Skullhouse, which 370 says Return to Skullhouse right on the cover. It's the trick or treat thing that messed me up. So, lesson learned: always read to the end of the sentence,
or pay attention to the original time when I said we were going to be covering that.
Right?
Make a note. Write it down.
Numbers. There's so many numbers, Rick. 326, 329, 370. They all run into each other after a while.
I mean, 329 and 326 are so much closer
than
329 and 370.
They really are. But, I never go back. Always moving forward.
Okay. All right. So I'll tell you right now, we're covering 326 because we promised that at the end of last episode, Bob.
Well,
were you paying attention then?
It's your loss, Rick, because this one doesn't have Diamondback in it. And I like Diamondback. I like looking at Diamondback.
Well, maybe next Halloween we'll cover 370. All right. How about that?
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah. If I don't have a replacement by then.
Get your applications in, folks. The pay is phenomenal.
Yeah, right. All right.
Did I mention the benefits? No. Okay.
Yeah, you should mention those. So, we're covering 326 today. And we'll get to that in a moment. Bob, do you do any Halloween traditions in your family?
Well, Rick, I have to say, I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. And I
took you for a pagan.
Yeah, I am. I'm definitely an All Hallows Eve sort of dude. And I used to go all out decorating the house. But, I got to be honest with you. My son's getting older. He can't be bothered. So I don't really do it much for Christmas anymore, but Halloween is still my jam. So I still haul everything out all by myself, do the whole house. And the thing that I really like, and I never did this until we moved to Florida. Apparently, I don't know, maybe it's a Florida thing, but, and I think it's the weather, it's warm. I don't know what it is, but we always set a table up for adults. And it's booze.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah. You said that last year.
Yeah. And so normally I have like a big thing with test tubes, and it's full of blood, and of course it's cranberry vodka, and
my favorite.
Or Jello shots that look like eyeballs. And every year it gets a little more fancy. But this year I decided I may not do. Last year I had brain sanitizer, for the whole COVID thing. So this year. I went out and I bought something like 40, they look like IV bottles.
Cool.
Like bags of IV fluid,
Yeah.
But you can fill them yourself with, and I'm going to fill them again with cranberry juice and vodka. And I'm going to hand out, they come with the tubes.
Yeah.
The whole thing, they look just like IV bags. And I'm going to have a whole ice chest full of these things that adults can come by and grab their IV bag and suck their cranberry vodka as they walk their kids around the neighborhood. Thank goodness it's a circle. They can't wander off,
They're probably going in a circle anyway.
Right. So I'm super excited this year.
That sounds so cool. You know what? That sounds so fun. I would totally just come and hang out at your place.
I think a lot of people do, actually. And it's not just my house. A lot of houses in the neighborhood do the booze thing, or, they have a barbecue, whatever, for adults as they're walking their kids around. And a lot of folks come in from outside. There's some apartment complexes nearby. They bring their kids in. I love it, more the merrier.
Yeah. No, that sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. I'm not a big Halloween fan. Christmas is my holiday that I enjoy the most. But yeah, I'm not a big dressing up in a costume guy, or that kind of thing. And I know to some people listening, that's because they're cosplayers and stuff like that. And that's, and I have a lot of friends who are, and I respect them, and I think that's fun, and I think that's great. I just don't have the patience to do it. And I see some of these awesome costumes out there.
People, I would love to do it.
Yeah, people do some amazing stuff. Sometimes when I after these big cons, like New York Comic Con ended not too long ago, and I'll just go. I'll go on only to look at the pictures of the people who dressed up. Like nothing else really interests me. I'm like, but I want to see all those cosplayers. Yeah. So I get it. I know why people like the holiday. Do you have a favorite candy?
Do I have a favorite candy? I'm a simple man, Rick, and I like the Dum Dum Pops. I'm not gonna lie to you, buddy. Sometimes I go out and I buy a bag of them just for myself. I keep them in a jar in my office.
How about that?
Yeah.
Did your mom just, like, every once in a while, just to shut you up, go through the bank tellers drive-through just to get you one of those?
No, but that's God, I wish she had. I don't know how I got hooked on Dum Dums. They're so simple, they're not like blow pops, and I always get to, or Tootsie Pops, they're small, I don't feel guilty about it, unless I have like 10 or 12 of them. But that's my thing. How about you? You have a favorite candy?
Oh yeah. Oh, I do.
Is it candy corn?
Oh my God. No.
Swedish Fish? No.
My daughter loves Swedish Fish.
Yeah,
she loves those. Yeah. No, I am a big Reese's peanut butter cup guy. I love peanut butter. Love peanut butter.
Really? Okay.
And then so chocolate and peanut butter. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my thing. And then I'll occasionally like a Kit Kat or a.
I miss that. I used to be a real candy fiend, and but as you get older, your taste buds change, your tastes change, and now my son is
your waistline changes.
My son's 12, and he'll eat any candy. He's like a piranha around a chunk of meat, and and I want to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have that, and then I always get halfway through it, and I'm like, that's enough. It's too sweet for me.
Yeah. Oh no, trust me. And this baffles everybody I know. I don't have a sweet tooth. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I can.
Oh, you're sweet enough.
No, I can get, those packages of 2 Reese's cups, that come to a package, right? I can take one out.
Yeah.
I can eat half of one, and put it back in.
Oh my gosh.
And then go back a week later and finish it. And people are like, are you sick? Are you crazy?
Pizza cutter out, cut it into 6 slices.
I don't have a sweet tooth. And so if I'm eating candy, I'm never going to do it when I'm hungry, because then I'll eat just more food. Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I only eat candy when it's like I'm full, but I just want to taste, Yeah. And then so like those box of Thin Mints, from the Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
I literally will keep a sleeve in the freezer and it'll last me a year, because I'll take one Thin Mint out, snap it in half, eat half of it, because they're great frozen. Right. Yeah. And everybody thinks I'm crazy. How do you have that willpower? And I'm like, well, I guess, I just want to taste. I'm not hungry.
Okay. All right. Good.
Now,
Good for you, man.
Listen, I'm not patting myself on the back too much. My downfall is the savory stuff, the salty foods.
Yeah, I've seen you tuck into a bag of vegetable chips, man.
And I feel like I'm doing pretty good when I'm eating the vegetable chips.
Bag of crack for this guy.
I know.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Listen, my favorite would be like chips and salsa.
Cassava chips. He's into it. Sweet potato. Hey, don't get me started. Yeah, I've seen him go.
Yeah. So we all have our weaknesses.
Right. Yeah. Right. So I guess you're not dressing up for Halloween.
I am not.
All right.
No. Okay.
Might
have my Captain America underoos on.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah. I would love to. I've been trying to get my wife to dress up again for years, but the last time we did, we had Bobby, so she's not doing that again. So
who are you?
She's like, no, that's how we got in trouble in the first place.
All right, so Bob, I guess we should get to it, right?
Yeah. Oh
yeah. Yeah. So issue 327 has here's the funny thing. It has a cover,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, 326.
Okay.
How would you know? Sorry, I'm looking at something else. Yeah, 326. It has a cover date. Get this, of February 1987. That's odd, right?
Yeah.
But it hit the stands October 14th of 1986.
So confusing.
So that gave it a couple weeks out before Halloween, and good thing, because on the cover here, it is a big, and Mike Zeck did the cover, right? So he was at this stage, he's just doing covers. Bob McLeod is inking him on this cover, and it's the cover of the Red Skull's mask. Huge, right? Takes up, the whole page almost. And it's just, but there's nothing behind it except light, almost like a jack-o'-lantern, right? Where the eyes and the nose and the mouth are all glowing. And then there's this big glow behind it. And with rays coming out all around. And you have Captain America stepping out of the Red Skull's open jaw. And he looks a little scared, a little nervous, a little perplexed, a little confused. And then there's some greened out characters around him that also the light from behind is coming out of their eyes. And they are all dead foes, Bob. Right? So we have MODOK, who at this point was killed. We have Porcupine, who is dead, Scourge, and then one of the members of Ultimatum. And so it says on here, just in case you forgot what I told you to look for before, Bob, trick or treat.
Yeah. There it is.
Yeah. And then, it has up in the corner, it's the Paul Neary character of Paul Neary's art of Captain America in the corner box where he's kind of running. And right above it, it says Marvel 25th anniversary. Remember those logos?
Those are great. Yeah.
Yep. 75 cents.
Great deal.
Can't beat it. Creators, we've got Mark Gruenwald as the writer. Paul Neary is the penciler. John Beatty is inking Paul Neary here. And when we talked to John back, that was back all the way in episode 43. And John talked about the difference between inking Mike Zeck and inking Paul Neary. And so that was really an interesting conversation. So he's the inker on here. The colorist is Ken Vidunowitz. I hope I'm saying that right. Letterer, Deanna Albers, editor Dan Daly, and of course the editor-in-chief is Jim Shooter. You want to hear the solicitation for this?
Oh, absolutely, I do.
All right. Cap's investigation of the Red Skull's house unleashes all the guilt and secret fears Captain America never before faced. Will the trauma of what he sees and experiences in the house destroy Captain America? All right, and then we get to the inside page. And Bob, what's the title to this story?
The Haunting of Skull House.
Oh, it's almost similar to what I told you.
Similar. I thought you said return, but reasonable people can differ. Little known fact, Rick. Do you know that the Skull House has a tavern in the basement?
Well, yeah, Bob. You know why? Because I read the issue.
Do you know what that's called?
Yes, Bob. It's in the issue.
Do you know why I bring this up?
No, Bob. Tell us why.
Because when I was a young man, I grew up next to a University of Lowell. And the University of Lowell had a very extensive dormitory complex, but they also had a nightclub, and that nightclub was called the Rathskeller. and I desperately wanted to get into the Rathskeller. And so I tried on multiple occasions to sneak in there when I was underage. Never succeeded, but it's always been like hanging out there as an unattained goal for me. So one of these days when I get back and I have time, I'm going into the Rathskeller, and of course I will be arrested and immediately thrown out, because who wants to see a 54-year-old man in a university, bar slash nightclub, right? So, but checking the box, right?
Yeah, you do. Yeah. You know what? I think you should totally do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe it'll be like some white beads hanging over the door as you're pushing them away.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So here on this huge splash page, we see the Skull House, which is this big, creepy looking mansion, almost like similar to the Haunted Mansion on, like you go to the Walt Disney Park or something like that. And it's at the top of this hill. And there's the big full moon behind it. Okay. And Cap is going through some iron gates, and there's a mist. And a lot of this story is going to be told from Cap's inner monologue. This is just about the last place in the world I ever wanted to set foot in again, especially on Halloween. The last time I was here, how long has it been? I came but a hair's breadth away from losing my closest friends, my honor, and my life. I've spent the months since trying to forget the tortures I endured at the hands of the lord of this dark manor. He's dead now, but there's always the possibility he left me some foul legacy. For that reason, I've had my hotliners watch the place. If they saw any suspicious activity here, so much as a single light burning in the window, they were to call me. They did. My name is Captain America, and walking into danger with my eyes wide open is one of the things I do often and well. Next page, Cap makes it up to the front door. And again, there's a lot of like fog wisping in around. I'm not a strong believer in the supernatural. Sure, I've seen some strange things in my day, phenomena that I couldn't begin to explain. But I still believe that rational explanations exist for everything, including magic, ghosts, premonitions, the whole ball of supernatural wax. All that said, I must admit that this place, Skull House, has an atmosphere about it that makes the back of my neck itch. I know that evil is an abstract concept that cannot be perceived by the senses, but this house, as rational as it seems, exudes an ambiance of evil. And then I like these three panels because you're just looking at the doorknob from the side, and all you see is Cap's hand reaching for the doorknob, and then his reaction. Yes, the lord of this dark manor was the most evil man I'd ever met, but he's dead now, and his evil died with him. Odd. I pull my hand away from the knob just as I'm about to touch it. Why did I do that? Caution or fear? Buck up, man. This is a heck of a time for you to lose your nerve. And then he grabs the handle and he turns it. Hey, Bob, what do you think the Red Skull used to get into the house? A skeleton key.
He's going to be here all night, folks.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
What do you call a skeleton who uses a doorbell?
What do you call a skeleton who uses a doorbell, Rick?
A dead ringer. Hey, Bob, do you find my skeleton jokes humorous?
Oh, honey, can you get me a refill?
The door swings open with the sort of creak you'd find in an old Boris Karloff movie.
Boris Karloff movie. He's really dating himself there, Rick.
No, Bob, you're supposed to do the special effect.
Oh, was I?
Yeah. You're the sound effect guy.
There is no sound effect in the panel.
I just said it has a creak.
It does, but it doesn't say.
Yeah, that's your job. I should have remembered the WD-40 oil. Oh, was that product placement?
There's a product.
Is Marvel
placement
making money here?
Yeah.
What? No guillotine blade? Barrage of daggers or whirling saw blades? You think I wasn't expected? So he's walking in there with his flashlight. Very creepy. And then he puts the flashlight on this huge painting on the wall, and it's a bust of, and there he hangs, Johann Schmidt, better known as the Red Skull. The man was a lot of things in his lifetime, all of them bad. This portrait doesn't do him justice. He first became notorious in Nazi Germany during World War II. The skull became such a potent symbol for that cause of Nazism that some anonymous bigwig in the U.S. War Department came up with the idea of creating a counter symbol to represent freedom and liberty. That symbol was Captain America. I was chosen to be that symbol. Me, the sole survivor of the government's project to create a super soldier. I guess you could say that, in a way, Captain America owes his existence to the Red Skull. It's a debt I repaid every time I smashed one of the Skull's malevolent schemes. With any luck, I smashed them all. The life work of a madman is now nothing more than some old machinery in a dilapidated house. And he's walking around into this huge area that's just a bunch of equipment. And he's walking around with his flashlight. Still no sign of anything suspicious. His library, his laboratory, even his Rathskeller, still and dark and silent. And there he is. He's looking in through the white beads hanging from the door frame into the Rathskeller.
Now, what? Look, Rick, I would love to have a Rathskeller in my basement. Of course, I live in Florida. We don't have basements. But if I did, it would be awesome. But he just doesn't strike me as a social kind of dude who would have big parties in his Rathskeller.
I agree. But it is from, issues like 298 through 300, right?
Yeah.
And then he had his friend Arnie kind of dress up and go up on the stage.
That's true, right?
And perform, yeah.
A little cabaret, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good point.
The lights the neighbors reported could have been vandals or kids playing. And then he gets down through a door to go down into the basement, into not just a creepy looking basement. This is more of a, well, he calls it a bunker, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here is the unholy heart of the mansion, the Red Skull's bunker. It was here that the Skull and I fought our final battle. It was here he died. The last time I climbed these metal stairs, I bore his lifeless body in my arms. I recall collapsing in the corridor outside the door, weak from the poison the Skull injected me with. I don't know how I pulled through, but I did. And soon after I came to, the Red Skull's daughter claimed his body. I gave it to her without a fight. I wonder what she did with it. Bury it? Burn it? Mummify it? I wonder where the Red Skull's body is now. So then all of a sudden Cap looks to see a light, searing my gloom-accustomed eyes with its brilliance. I tense, hold my shield before me, and assume a battle stance. Something appears to be swirling, coalescing in the center of the light. What kind of clever trick is this? I'm anxious to know. The light dims a bit, and what I see makes my blood run cold. And what does he see, Bob?
It looks like some sort of hologram appearing, Rick. A hologram of the Red Skull in a bathrobe.
I thought you said before it was would you call it a dressing coat, a dressing gown?
A dressing gown, right. Yes, of course. A dressing gown. It sounds much fancier. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing he wore when he died in issue 300. He looks very, very skinny, right, and frail, and he's wearing that and some wrinkled boots. He's got a cane, and he's got his Red Skull mask on, of course. Greetings, my old enemy. Welcome back to Skull House. That voice. I'll recognize it to my dying day. It's the Red Skulls, and he looks exactly like he did when we last clashed. What's going on here? I stand my ground. So far, the apparition of my old foe has not made a threatening move. I'll wait. And he shines his flashlight on it. Nice trick, whoever you are. A superstitious person might indeed believe you are the Red Skull back from the dead. Not me. You're undoubtedly some imposter, or perhaps a hologram programmed by my late foe. And he's basically at the top of the stairs, and Cap's at the bottom. I do not fancy talking to you on a staircase. If you wish to continue our little reunion, join me in my Rathskeller. Oh, so he invites Cap and not you.
Not the first time.
He turns, about to leave. Your face, Skull. Let me see your real face. Why, certainly. And then we see these 3 panels, slowly, the Red Skull pulling his mask off. Satisfied? I'm not sure why I had him, or it, do that. A hologram could have been programmed with both of his visages. Come now. The lower half of his body becomes a wispy trail. I bound up the stairs, 4 at a time, and slice at the swirling air where he stood. If anyone had truly been here, he wasn't here now. And Cap does. He takes his shield and he slices at it, but there's nothing there, but we hear the laughter of the skull. I check the landing and door frame for a hologram projector. None in evidence. That still doesn't rule out the possibility. The only possibility I'm ruling out is that the skull is back from the dead. Whatever I saw invited me to the Rathskeller. You can bet it's a trap. But it's one I'm going to have to face in order to get to the bottom of this sham. When I enter the Rathskeller, I find him waiting for me. He's sitting at the same table where the 2 of us sat many months ago when he told me the story of his life as a prelude to our last battle. There you are. I was beginning to think you had forgotten the way. And he's sitting in a booth with 2 very large steins of beer waiting there. I approach cautiously. My flashlight shines through him. Come, sit down. Join me in a drink to your life and my death. I check the booth for the obvious traps and find none. Somehow, that doesn't comfort me. Come now, Captain. Had I wanted to hurt you, I'd have done so by now. What I really want to do is drink and talk. I can't resist. And he swings at him, but goes right through him. My shield doesn't faze him. Put that ridiculous thing down. It can't harm me now. I'm not the Red Skull anymore. I'm the Dead Skull. Let's cut the nonsense. It's wearing rather thin. What's the point of all this haunted house malarkey? Hey, Bob, that reminds me of a joke.
Oh, here we go, folks.
So, can you imagine if the roles were reversed and instead of Captain America falling into the ice in suspended animation, it was the Red Skull instead? Because if it was the Red Skull, he'd have to change his name to the Numbskull.
Oh, folks, it's a homemade joke.
Did you like that? I did. I totally made that up.
Very nice. Very nice. Well done.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
No. Always a skeptic, eh? You do me such injustice. Am I not your greatest enemy? Haven't I provided you with the grandest battles? Your most satisfying victories? your greatest opportunities to prove your heroism. Wasn't our last battle the grandest of them all? You affirmed your superiority over me once and for all. And then we get to this big, I wouldn't call it a splash page, but it's a montage, right?
Ooh, nice.
Of the Red Skull's face in the in the middle without his mask, the aged face, and then around are all the images of what he's about to describe, which happened in issues 298 through 300 of Captain America. Surely you remember how it came about, how I had my wretched daughter, Mother Superior, and her insipid playmates kidnap your Fräulein Bernadette and bring her to me. She was soon joined by 3 of your other closest friends, all captured similarly and consigned to my dungeon. I subjected you to rays and chemicals to accelerate your body's aging process. Was it fair that time had caught up with me, but had spared you? Not one bit. Then, with you as my prisoner as well, I administered the 2 of us some poison, so that when I went, I could take you with me. I proposed that we spend our last few minutes alive, locked in combat. But you wanted to deny me that request and waste your final moments searching for a miraculous escape. So I forced your hand, feigning I'd kill your friends. I made you abandon all hope and want nothing more than to kill me. I rejoiced I brought you down to my level. But somehow, you still managed to thwart me. Though I begged you to do so, you refused to snuff out my life with your own hands. No, you let the poison take me. Imagine the horror of having the last thing you ever see in this life be the sanctimonious face of your most hated enemy. What a cruel jest, forced to concede final defeat in that way. The flames of the inferno were a welcome sight after that. The leering apparition certainly has its facts straight. That was precisely how my last battle with the Red Skull went. Wait a minute. How could the Skull have programmed the details of his own demise into the hologram machine? When would he have been able to do that? I'm still waiting for you to get to the point. My point? This. I had to live up to my own capacity for evil every day of my life, just as you have had to live up to your capacity for goodness. On my dying day, I was forced to concede failure in my lifelong quest to corrupt you, to lead you astray from your path of righteousness. Imagine my glee when, after my death, with no help from me, you proceeded to corrupt yourself and become as bad as I am, or rather, was. What's that supposed to mean? Behold, Captain, do you recognize this figure? And he points to a shadowy figure that's standing up on the stage. Who is it, Bob?
It's an agent from Ultimatum, Rick.
He's an agent of that terrorist group Ultimatum. Not just any agent. He's the agent you shot and killed. Tell us about yourself, agent. I am Vladimir Korder, born Krakow, 1946. Hydra agent for 5 years, mercenary in Africa, 3 years, Ultimatum agent for 5 months. I was assigned to guard 110 American hostages with order to execute them if anyone interfered. I never learned the name of the agent I killed. He could have been named Korda. The memory of that incident still makes my stomach knot after all these weeks. When did that take place, Bob?
That was way back in Captain America 320, Rick.
Well, not really way back, Bob.
Wow.
We're on issue 326. I know if we were on issue 370, Bob, that would have been way back.
That's 6 months. That's half a year, Rick.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, in comic time, it's weeks.
Yeah.
When Captain America showed, I opened fire on the crowd. Captain America then shot me dead. I try not to betray any emotion, but the sight of that agent unnerves me in a way that not even the Skull's apparition can. Again, I ask you, Skull, the point. Don't you see, Captain? By committing a little evil yourself, by taking a life, You have opened the portals to perdition and given me, your perfect opposite, a little life. That's preposterous. I am now an agent of a higher power than I have ever dreamed existed, Captain. The task I am charged with is one I'd never have undertaken if my will were still my own. But you see, when you tainted yourself with evil, I, your perfect opposite, was tainted with a sliver of goodness. I am here to offer you a chance at redemption for taking a life. Ironic, no? And what is this alleged chance of redemption? When you murdered the ultimate agent, you tainted yourself with evil. To cleanse yourself of that evil, you must die, and by your own hand. That's a good one, Skull. You want me to kill myself on your say-so. I know you, my old enemy. Your reverence for life and incredible will to survive render you incapable of surrendering any human life, especially your own. Your way is to never give up and keep on fighting to the end. Your destiny is to die gloriously in battle against impossible odds for the noblest of causes. So the powers I now serve have arranged for just that. And he points to the stage. And who do we see there, Bob?
Well, there is Porcupine.
Yep.
There is MODOK.
Uh-huh.
There is the Scourge of the Underworld and the aforementioned Ultimatum Agent, Monsieur Corda.
Wait a minute. Are you sure that's a Scourge? Because that looks like Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe.
It does. It does. It looks like a combination of Snake Eyes and perhaps a wayward Hydra agent. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's wearing like he's basically looks like Snake Eyes. I would say he looks like, no, I'm not going to describe it. If you know what Snake Eyes looks like, that's Snake Eyes. He even has an Uzi, which was Snake Eyes' gun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Not a good choice, might I add, but yeah.
Why not? You don't like an Uzi, Bob?
I don't. I really don't.
What do you have?
Very inaccurate. They're inaccurate. You know, they're
well, which explains how the G.I. Joes were all still alive.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, but they look cool. They do look cool. Yeah.
So back when I was a teenager, I was really into G.I. Joe. I'm a young teenager, like 13, whatever, right? Probably still too old to be like into action figures and stuff like that.
No.
God knows I got made fun of, and in 6th grade, 7th grade, I remember I admitted to somebody that I still liked Star Wars figures, and I got totally like ridiculed.
Were you like, hey, dude, guess what? 40 years from now, these are going to be worth tons.
No, it wasn't like that at all.
Yeah, I didn't foresee that.
But listen, there was this cute girl. Like I had a crush on, kind of cute girl.
Yeah.
Her name, ready for this, listeners? Her name was Michelle Gabaldo.
Okay, Michelle, if you're listening.
If you're listening, I had a big crush on you back in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
You blew it.
Yeah. You could have had all this. Anyway, she wrote me a note. And it said, I think, I don't know, Star Wars is fun or something like that. I think Chewbacca's cute or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Rick, you needed like a professional to come in and interpret that for you, because what she was saying is, you're cute, buddy. You're her little Chewbacca.
I was a lot hairier back then.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, getting back to G.I. Joe, Snake Eyes, everybody loved Snake Eyes. He was so cool. Right. And I always thought the Uzi was cool because it was like a pistol, but it was a little extension of a pistol, and that fired like a machine gun. Mm-hmm. If you could hold it like a pistol, but fire like a machine gun, and it had like like that big what do they call?
Yeah, magazine.
Thank you. Yeah, the magazine that went into the handle.
Yeah.
Right. And I always thought the Uzi was cool, but I totally understand that it's not very accurate. But it's probably not made for accuracy. It's probably made for like crowd control, if you know what I mean.
Spray and pray.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Should we get back to the comic?
Sure.
Yes,
Oh,
let's
yeah.
do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Michelle, call me. All right. Cast your eyes to the cabaret stage. Joining the man you murdered are 3 others of your foes who, like me, died in your arms in the past few months. Modoc, the porcupine, the scourge of the underworld. Each of them restored to a semblance of life for the sole purpose of giving you someone to battle to the death. A grand gesture, eh? Gentlemen, at your pleasure. And then they all point at Cap and they start firing, and it makes a noise, Bob.
It does. By the way, that's not an Uzi noise from the Scourge. Pum, 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 pum. And of course, the Ultimatum Agent.
And what are the quills from the porcupine sound make? If you say so.
I'm sorry. I have a hard time looking at the porcupine after the whole She-Hulk.
I know, right?
MCU porcupine. So it's a whole different. That's changed it for me.
I know, especially when he took off his mask and they're like, "Oh my god, the smell." I still don't fully give credits to the spectators standing in before me. No, sorry, not spectators, specters. I still don't fully give credits to the specters standing before me, but the bullets and the quills that volley past me, ripping apart the booth where the skull sat, those I can't ignore. Modoc, the mental organism designed only for killing, may be the deadliest of the bunch. While the others use more conventional weaponry, Modoc strikes with his mind. The table I was standing near explodes with a single laser-like blast from that focusing crystal on his brow. At least I saw it coming. Hey, Bob, for those who may not know, some people may not know who Modoc is. Do you want to describe what he looks like so that people can understand what Cap is going up against?
Yeah, he is a very large floating head, essentially, Rick, with a bad haircut, in a floating chair. So he has very tiny limbs, very tiny arms, very tiny legs, almost baby-like, in a ginormous head in a floating chair. And he has a, back in the 80s, Rick, late 70s, 80s, you may not remember this, but remember those terry cloth sort of headbands that were super popular, like for tennis?
Oh, absolutely. Come on, man.
You remember those?
Let's get physical.
Yeah, there you go.
Physical.
Yes. So he almost has one of those, except in this case, it matches his armor, right? Which is sort of an off purple kind of armor that clads his baby limbs and his baby legs, baby arms. And it has an enormous crystal in the front of his head, which, as Cap says, focuses his mental energy into laser-like weapons.
And for those who can't see, but Bob just said laser-like and he used quotes. Laser.
It's a freaking laser.
Can you toss me a bone? All right. Himmel, watch those quills. I roll beneath a nearby table and leap to my feet with it as a battering ram. And he does. He takes out all 3 of those guys, except for Modoc, at the same time. It's not exactly a brilliant plan, but the important thing is to keep moving until I think of one. Again, Modoc makes short work of the skull's furnishings. A plan starts to formulate in my brain. I'll need the flashlight I dropped. Modoc's not giving me a moment's respite. That's okay by me. I'll use that to my advantage. My shield's protection against anything these guys throw at me. The trick is putting the shield every place it has to be to deflect their fire. After years of practice, my actions resemble a karate kata, a pattern of movement performed in an every varying sequence. I like that, Bob. Right?
Oh.
So let's talk about that, right? So we don't really ever talk about Cap's use of his shield to protect himself while being under fire, right? We've always made jokes about the fact that everybody's firing at the shield rather than at him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some writers have talked about that. I seem to recall Mark Waid brought that up at some point in his run.
He did.
About how they focus on the shield because of the star or whatever, or it just, coming at them. But I think of, gosh, what's that? I can't remember which issue it is. 102, 103, 104, whatever it was, where Captain America is surrounded by the exiles. And they're all firing at him, but they're going towards the shield, even though they have like his shield's only pointing one direction. But here, Mark Gruenwald brings up the fact that, Cap is able to swing his shield around in a way, and he compares it to karate kata, Kata, a pattern of movement formed in an ever-varying sequence. Do you know anything about that?
I do, Rick, actually. I studied karate for years, and my son recently, he studied it. He's not studying it now because he got fed up and didn't want to do it anymore, so we're taking a break. But he didn't understand why he had to learn these kata sequences, right? And essentially, they are sequences of kicks and punches and blocks. And they're very, routine, and they're much more complicated as you go up in higher ranks. But he didn't understand it. To him, it seemed like almost like a dance, right? Like a dance move. You just go through it, you memorize it until it becomes second nature. And that's the point of it, right? It is to inculcate this muscle memory, so that when you do get into a situation, you break into that flow without actually having to think about the movements themselves. And so I think this is a great example of that Gruenwald brings up, of how the movements of Cap using his shield and his hands and his legs and his feet are almost kata-like. And we see Cap in various sequences in different comics practicing against robots, against life model decoys, against all sorts of practice foes. And the idea is, of course, so that it becomes second nature. He doesn't have to think about it when it happens, because if you got to think about it, then you're gonna miss the boat, right? You're gonna miss the blow. You're gonna miss the laser. And you're not going to be able to respond effectively.
Yeah. No, thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, I mean, I totally get it. I mean, I took Taekwondo for several years, which is similar to karate.
It's similar, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's Korean. So I like that Mark brought that up, right? That it helps explain of some of what happens. And I think later on in this issue, you wouldn't know this because you didn't read it, but later on in this issue, there will be a time where he brings that up again.
Uh-huh. Ooh, I can't wait.
MODOK's aiming wildly, trying to break through my defenses. Time for the unexpected. And he starts coming at the three of them, minus MODOK. What's he doing? It works every time. I charge at people shooting at me, and the moment they feel the ricochets start whizzing back toward them, they stop shooting. See, that's the part that I was talking about. So I think that's another great way of Mark kind of talking about something that for at this point, I don't know, 50 years, right, of Captain America, that, hey, I'm running at you with my shield, you're firing, and all of a sudden, you hear a ricochet kind of whizzing by you. Right. Yeah, you're going to kind of stop.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, me personally, I'd aim at the feet, but that's just me.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the Boyd cycle, Rick?
No, tell me about the Boyd cycle.
It's also sometimes known as the OODA loop. Have you heard about that?
Oh, yeah, the OODA loop. Okay, never mind. Let's keep going. Go ahead.
No, it's that's effectively what Cap is using here, right? He's getting inside the OODA loop of the porcupine, the scourge, and the ultimatum agent. Now, the OODA loop was this model of decision making developed by an Air Force colonel by the name of John Boyd back in I think it was the late 70s, early 80s. But in any case, it means OODA loop is OODA: observe, orient, decide, act. So that's the steps that we all go through when we see the world around us and we decide how we're going to act, right? We observe something, we orient on it, we decide what we're going to do, we act, and we start the loop over again. What Cap is doing is messing with their OODA loop, right? By going toward them, he's causing them to react, right? Which throws off their OODA loop, which causes them to slow down because now they're not on the offense, they're on the defense. So it's, when in doubt, attack.
Interesting. And it's called the Boyd what?
The Boyd cycle. Yeah, B-O-Y-D, Boyd.
I was always more into the girl cycle, but, hey,
yes.
teach their own.
Yes. What was her name? Michelle Garibaldo?
Oh, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
So he's curled himself into a ball. He almost looks like the tumbler.
He does,
right?
yes.
And he's tucked behind his shield and he's just kind of spinning at them. It's almost like a bowling ball hitting bowling pins, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I hope the human cannonball stunt would have kept them down longer, but no such luck. I leap back toward the area of the floor, which I had maneuvered MODOK into bombarding. A good whack at the point I deemed structurally weakest, and the floor gives way. And he does. He falls through the floor down below. This is a strategic retreat. Bob, have you ever done a strategic retreat?
I haven't. I haven't been in a position to do a strategic retreat. Tactical retreat, perhaps. So I do that all the time with my wife.
Verbally retreat.
Yep, live to fight another day, Rick, as they say. But certainly not a strategic retreat. But I do like the thinking here.
So then that leaves the specters all standing above the hole that Cap just fell through. He went down there. Stand aside, little men. I will enlarge the hole so we may follow him. She, I never figured Cap to be a coward, running away from a fight like that. Think what you want, Porcupine. Ah, there's MODOK. And he's looking up at the hole and everybody looking down at him. And he turns on the flashlight. Click. And it goes right to MODOK's eyes. And he acts like a big old baby.
Big old baby that he is.
Yeah. With your teeny little arms and teeny little legs. Can't see. Can't see. Now hold that pose. And he tosses his shield up from down below on the second level. But he comes up and he hits MODOK's laser beam
crystal.
Yeah, there you go. Headband thing. Yeah. I did it. I broke the mental transmitter on his brow, which enables him to project his mental energy as deadly force. Now he'll be a lot easier to deal with. There's something surreal about all this. I still can't believe these are the actual persons come back from the dead. They must be skilled actors or robots or something, but they act and sound exactly like who they seem to be. And that's how I've been dealing with them. Down here in the catacombs, there's more cover and less light. The odds against me are, what? A harsh beam of light. MODOK must be projecting it, but how? I thought I just wrecked his modulator device. Come to think of it, it was strange how the ultimatum agent recovered so soon after smashing against Porcupine's quills. Robots, they must be. Justice must be served. Shoot him. And their weapons make noise, Bob. Thanks for the warning, Scourge, or whoever you are. One good thing about MODOK's spotlight, my foes can't see any better than I can. But while their shooting reveals their position to me, I'm as silent as a panther. Till I make contact, of course. The agent's face feels like flesh as I strike him a glancing blow with my shield. There goes the robot theory. I'm rougher on Porcupine's body armor. Scourge feels non-metallic, non-robotic too. A force blast blisters the air over my right shoulder. It's obviously MODOK, but how do you repair his cerebral circuitry in such a short time? Frustrating. I've got all the pieces, but how do they fit? Surprised at our persistence, Captain? You should be. Now that we are all agents of a higher power, our resilience, our stamina, our very wills to succeed have been augmented to unsurpassable levels. I don't know about you, but as soon as I said that, I felt like saying, inconceivable.
I don't think you know what that word means, right?
We four ghosts cannot rest until you have laid down your life. And he fires at one of the pillars that's holding up down in the catacombs. Not the cheeriest of thoughts. I'm beginning to feel the first twinges of fatigue. If the four of them truly are inhumanly tireless, it'll just be a matter of time until... No, I cannot give in to defeatism. I can and I will battle them as long as I have an ounce of energy left in my body. And by the founding fathers, I will win. You can run like a frightened rabbit, Captain, but it will only delay the inevitable. Can't let MODOK hog the glory of the kill. Where's my gun? Unbelievable. The others are recovering. That's 2 of these support columns I've decoyed MODOK into blasting. One more might do the trick. And he does. He fires at the column. But Bob, we cut.
I guess we do.
To another panel. And there's somebody watching Cap battle these guys on a monitor.
Right. He's lit only in red, and we only see a slight from the back profile of the side of his head. We don't know who this is yet.
Ha 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 ha! Look at him, cavorting about, chasing shadows, battling the demons of his own mind. This is the revenge I have craved all these long months. They won't let up. They just keep coming at me, forcing me into corners I have to fight my way out of. They can't be human. They can't be ghosts. They're like something out of my darkest nightmares. The foes I cannot beat. How many times must I smash these things before they'll stay down? I held back the first time, believing them to be human beings, impersonators. But now I'm striking with all my might, putting everything I've got into each blow, every throw of my shield. MODOK must have figured out my plan to have him collapse the roof. His mind blasts haven't been as reckless since the second pillar collapsed. He stops my shield at mere foot before it strikes him. It should still be just enough diversion if I really move. And Cap does. He pounces and he hits one of the columns. The instant my feet strike the crumbling stone, something occurs to me. Against my will, I've been placed in a situation where the only way I can beat my enemies is by killing them. Yet, killing, with the express intention to do so, is what has been preying upon my conscience these past weeks, and it's what the Skull's ghost told me I'm here to atone for. If what I am doing is successful, while I have betrayed my ideals, condemned my soul, past the point of all redemption, piercing the thunderclap caused by the ceiling cave-in, I think I hear the dying screams of the 4 beings I've been fighting. And the collapse, Bob, makes a loud noise.
Whoa!
I'm still uncertain what they are, or were. If they are robots, then I hope these falling stones demolish them. If they're human beings impersonating my foes, then I have 4 more deaths on my conscience. If they truly are what the Skull claimed, my foes bodily brought back from the dead, then I'm off the hook. It's no crime to kill something that's already dead. How I wish I could believe in ghosts. And it's one big splash page, right, of Cap jumping up while the ceiling collapses on the 4 foes. And it's interesting. It's almost like Gruenwald is going back to the Roger Stern, John Byrne era, right? Defending them when he says it's no crime to kill something that's already dead. Like when he killed the vampire.
Baron Blood.
Baron Blood. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And he decapitated it with the shield. It's like, well, he was already dead. Did he really kill him?
Yeah. That's a good catch.
I know that's up for debate too. And maybe next episode, when we talk to Professor Mark White, we could talk to about, we're certainly going to get into, does Cap kill? When is it okay? When is it not okay? In the history of Captain America comics, how has Cap handled killing? And this issue we're covering, obviously, is a big deal. And he talks very plainly in the fact that killing is wrong, and then that it weighs on his conscience.
Right. Yeah.
And then we cut back to that person who is watching on the monitor is watching, but it's a person still in the shadows, but he's sitting in a wheelchair. Confound it all. What does it take to break that man? I expose him to a potent hallucinogen to make him highly suggestible. I provided him with all the audio-visual cues necessary to direct his hallucinations in the desired path, and I supply him the perfect scenario for his own demise, exploiting his deepest guilt, and he still won't break. Can it be that Captain America is incapable of envisioning his own defeat under any circumstances? Bah, no matter. I still have an ace in the hole. Now that he's been softened by the first scenario, this will finish him off. And he hits a device on the computer screen. I somehow managed to scramble clear of the collapsing debris. Clouds of dust still hang thickly in the air, making it difficult to see or breathe. Soon as I can, I'll dig through this rubble to find out once and for all who or what I was. Cap? That voice. No. It can't. It couldn't be. It's been decades since I've heard that voice. Am I hearing things? Is this more tricks? And we turn to see, and who is it, Bob?
It's Bucky!
Bucky? That's right, Cap. James Buchanan Barnes, your original partner and all-around swell guy. How you doing? I've had enemies try to fool me with doppelgangers of Bucky before. I grab him. I touch his face. This is no robot, no actor in makeup. Dear Lord, I believe that it's he. It's Bucky. And he has this huge smile on his face as he grabs his shoulders. How? It's past midnight. It's no longer Halloween. It's All Saints' Day. They let me come back so I could tell you something, Cap. Remember how you used to blame yourself for what happened to me? How I died? Well, you don't know how good it made me feel when you finally got over that. I mean, I knew the risks I was taking. Oh, I brought some people with me, Cap. Logic tells me this couldn't possibly be happening. And yet, there they are. My dad, my mom, and Sharon Carter, the shield agent who had been the first great love of my life. And they're all running towards him with their arms open. Along with Bucky, these are the people I miss most in the world, the four whose memories I most revere. And Sharon comes up and gives him a kiss and a hug. Oh, Steve, you don't know how proud I am of all the good things you've done since I went away. And the mom comes up. Now, the mom, interestingly enough, is an old lady.
It's almost like a for crying out loud.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Well, an old, comic book version of Aunt May.
Right, yeah.
And yet the dad still looks he looks like decades younger than the mom.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're all proud of you, son. I know I wasn't the best. Oh. Well,
he also has a very high voice.
Yeah, but look.
Yeah.
The word
I know. It does point to her head. Yeah. You're not wrong.
Okay. We're all proud of you, son. I know I wasn't the best father a boy could ever have, but you're the best son any man could ever hope to have. Amen. Mom, Dad, Sharon, Bucky, I've missed you all so. But why are you here? Cap, the Red Skull never did one doggone good thing in his entire life. And even now that he's dead, he's still been playing fast and loose with you. You mean that nonsense about how I had to give up my own life to atone for the life I took? Kinda. What the Skull wanted was for you to die in battle. And considering that it was in battle that you committed the mortal sin of taking a life, dying in battle would only have made things worse. Stephen, there are things beyond mortal understanding. This is one of them. I don't know who made up the rules. I just know you've got to go along with them. You freely took a life. You freely got to give up your life. Not begrudgingly in battle, freely. That's the only way you can redeem your soul so that you can be with us. But, Dad, I don't want to die. I close my eyes, and the world starts swirling around me. This has got to be some kind of trick, right? But my father, he may have never been able to show me that he really cared for me, but he never once lied to me, never tried to trick me. I'm so confused. I don't know what to think anymore. Stevie, can't you see you've done enough for the world? No man has ever lived did as much as you have to make things better. You may still look young, but you've been giving yourself to the world for years and years. Your mom's right, Cap. You've done your bit, far more than I was able to. You deserve a rest. Just as you inspired me to be all that I could, to even lay down my life so others might live, well, others will pick up your work where you left off. Do it for us, Steve, so we can all be together again. The 4 people who mean more to you than anyone else are us. If you don't surrender your life, your tainted soul will never be able to join with ours in the hereafter. Please, don't leave us now, or we'll be forever. I don't know how. What do I have to do? It's simple, my love. All you have to do is take our hands, follow us into the light. And they grab his hands and start walking him towards the light. A warm white light emanates from somewhere down the corridor. Mom and Sharon gently take my hands. I begin to say goodbye to all those I'm leaving behind. Bernie, Sam, Jack, Nick, Jarvis, Dave, Arnie, Jan, Tony, Hank. The light feels cozy, inviting. It makes me wonder why I've feared and avoided death all my life. Then a black knot of something explodes in the pit of my stomach, making my eyes go wide in a mixture of surprise and pain. And then he lashes out at the 4 with his shield, but they turn to ghosts and dissolve. This is wrong. Suicide is the coward's way out. My friends, my family would never coax me to be a coward. And then we cut back into who's the man in the shadow the whole time, Bob?
Damn, it's Dr. Faustus.
Curse him. Another few steps, and he have walked freely into the cremation oven. I took my best psychological shots at him, and he resisted. No matter. If Dr. Faustus cannot get his revenge artfully, he will get his revenge any way he can. Captain America will not leave Skullhouse alive. And he pushes a button on the monitor. There. He is weary from his pantomime battle, disturbed by the encounter with his loved ones, and disoriented from the contact hallucinations which I sprayed on objects throughout the house. He will certainly fall prey to the 101 death traps this house is honeycombed with. But just on the slim chance that I have underestimated him once again, I will exit the Skull's command center and beat a prudent retreat. I would not want to face him again, especially not after our last encounter, which left me crippled. And we turn to the next page. He was about to say crippled, right? Because he's in a wheelchair. No, not you. And then what do we see here, Bob?
God.
What is Dr. Faustus scared of and he pointing at?
It appears to be the ghost of the Red Skull himself, Johann Schmidt.
I do not take kindly to strangers using my house for such pathetic little schemes, Faustus. How dare you make use of my facilities, my library, my technologies? I am Captain America's greatest enemy, not you. If anyone deserved to have destroyed him, it was I. And he comes at him. No, you're not real. Just an hallucination. I must have accidentally touched something with... Can an hallucination do this, my dear doctor? And he starts strangling him. Then we cut back to Cap, who's running around with his shield and his flashlight and some tattered uniform, too. He's been nicked. Man, am I beat. For the past 10 minutes, this place has been a madhouse of saw blades, flamethrowers, trapdoors, daggers, poison darts, and cyanide gas. Then, as suddenly as it started, it stopped. Somewhere in this house, there's an answer to all this craziness that's going on, and I'm not leaving until I find it. Wait, I see a figure at the top of the stairs. It's just sitting there, not moving, its head rolled painfully to one side. It looks like, yes, it is, Dr. Faustus, the mad psychiatrist. I should have guessed that he was behind this psychological warfare. I must have been so keyed into thinking of the Red Skull that other old masterminds just didn't occur to me. I wonder what happened to him, that he's just sitting there, deathly still. And we cut to the last panel as Captain America is wheeling. It looks like an unconscious Dr. Faustus out the gates that he came in to start the story. And behind the skull house, there's a laughing face of the Red Skull. Just beyond where I found Faustus, I discovered his control room and learned how he manipulated everything I thought I saw and heard. Rather clever. For a few moments there, I was totally convinced of the existence of the supernatural. Turned out Faustus wasn't dead, just in a severe state of shock, bordering on coma. I guess he fell prey to the same tricks he was using on me. I wonder about one thing, though. Faustus is an inveterate nail biter. His fingernails are chewed down to the nub. How the devil did he get those deep claw marks around his throat? The end.
Awesome. Well, it's no issue 370.
How long have you been waiting to say that, Bob?
Oh my goodness. Good story.
Yeah, what'd you think?
I like this story. I don't even know if I've ever read this one before, Rick. Obviously not in preparation for today, but I mean, ever. I don't know if I've ever read it. And because this was a very busy time in my life when this came out. But this is a fun story. This is a great Halloween story. Good pick.
Oh, thanks. I'm so glad you finally read it. Yeah, I find that interesting. There's a lot of things I like about the story. One, we have Mark writing a story about Steve dealing with his guilt, right? Because these hallucinations were brought on by his own psychosis, right? So it wasn't like, these were holograms or anything like that. I mean, these were, things that Steve's mind came up with. So obviously these deaths of these characters weighed on him, especially the one where he had his own hand in it with the ultimatum agent. So I like that part. I like the couple of things that we pointed out about how Steve somehow manages to, not get hit, when he has the shield and kind of explaining that, on a couple levels. So that was pretty cool. And then at the end, you kind of started guessing like, is Red Skull really alive, or was that a hallucination the whole part? But how did he get those marks on his neck then?
That's right. Yes. Yeah. There's always some lingering questions that require some follow-up. I think, Rick, I like a complex story. You know that. We've talked about this before. And I like action. I like a good fight scene. I love all that. But I like a story that makes you chew on it for a while. That after you read it, when you're sitting there later and you're thinking, oh my gosh, and it gets you like mulling about it for a while. And there's a lot of threads in this that I suspect I'll be pulling on a little bit later. And one of them you mentioned, right? And this was all driven by Cap's mental state, right? His memories, his guilt, the things that he's carrying with him. Right, all the accuracy of the voices of his parents and Sharon and Bucky, all those things. Though the reason they're so accurate is because it's Cap's memories coming, bubbling to the surface. So I love it. I love the fact that this isn't just a straight up robots, right? These could have been robots, right? Could have been life model decoys. Could have been any of those things, but it wasn't. It's much more complex and rich because it comes from inside Cap. And I think that's great storytelling.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, it's no 370, but I also enjoyed. So I can't wait. And listen, if 370 is so much better than this,
right,
then I can't wait a year from now when we're doing the next Halloween issue.
I know.
Or episode. Yeah.
Yeah, so we could do a whole Skull House, a week after week, Skull House spectacular.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
All right, Bob. So let's get to, we have favorite panel, time capsule, and T-shirt worthy.
Yeah.
Now, you went first last time. I'll go first this time because I know you need some time to actually think about this.
I'm ready to go, Rick.
All right.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
All right. So for favorite panel, I'm going to go with page 2. This is going to actually be a little bit out of the norm. I'm going to treat the top of page 2 where it has the hand going on the knob. I'm going to treat those 3 panels as one panel because it's a sequence of, I just thought it was good storytelling, right? Because all you're doing is you're focusing on the knob, and then coming from this out of the picture is Cap's hand reaching for it, pulling back, and then going back and grabbing it, and turning the knob. I'm don't know. I thought that was good storytelling. I'm going to put that as my favorite panel.
Okay. All right. This was a tough one for me. There were 2
because you just had 2 seconds to figure it out.
Nope. Because there were like 2 runners up. Really, I mean, how could you not pick the womb page, right? Page 18. That full page, where the floor collapses and Cap is jumping up. I mean, that's a fabulous page. And so I was tempted, right? But also I was tempted by the last panel on page 3. There's something about that page that really appeals to me. You see basically a 3/4 of Cap's face up close. And he's got such a look of persistence and determination. I love that panel. But ultimately, that's not the panel the panel I went for. I went for the full splash page. You called it a montage.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right?
Have you gotten to your pick yet, Bob?
The montage of Red Skull talking about his demise. And I love that page. Not because the art is necessarily fabulous, right? I mean, that Johann Schmidt in the middle, it's okay. But it's really the dialogue that goes with the art that I think makes that page really awesome, because it really digs down into the psychopathy of the Red Skull himself.
Did you just make up a word?
Yep, I did. I made that up. I took 3 credits of psychology in undergrad, and I feel qualified. So psychopathy. I'm going to say psychopathy, and I'm sticking with that. So I like that full page montage, as you described.
Very nice. Okay, well, I'm actually using that for my time capsule.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm using that whole page as a time capsule because it does talk about a specific time, Captain America 298 to 300. And I thought it was, a certain place in time in Cap's history that is very much, one period only, right? That final death battle. And so I'm putting that in my time capsule. What are you putting in yours?
Well, I'm going to go with on page 19, when we first, I think, realize it's Dr. Faust. No, we don't realize. We see the profile of Dr. Faustus, and he's upset. He's watching Cap on a monitor, and he puts in the tape in the computer system to launch the next scenario, his ace in the hole. It looks like an 8-track tape, right, Rick?
Oh, you know what? I misread that. I thought he was like pushing a button, but you're right. He is putting a tape in there.
Yeah, right. And it got me thinking, right? Because you see what I'm holding up here, Rick?
Yeah, Bob, I don't think that's very polite for a PG show, Bob.
Yes.
You may want to put that away and something you're going to use later. I don't know.
I'm showing Rick what it's a metal box. It's about 5 inches wide. It's about 7 inches long. It's
where I come from, that's 12 inches long.
It's 1.5 inches wide. This is what in the old days was a memory device, right? Mm-hmm. It was post floppy disk. And this was one of the first like portable hard drives, right? It has like 100 megabytes of memory on here. It's super. So when I see this, and I think back to like, what was it, 1987, right? Yeah. I had like my first PC I bought at that point. I had computers before that, but I remember the memory devices, and I'm thinking of these tapes, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, right? There's a time capsule memory right there. Back in the mid 80s, what we used for portable storage on our personal computers. And I'm thinking, well, those days are gone. Now everything is.
Why did you just do air quotes for personal computers?
Because they're PCs. Nobody calls them personal computers anymore, right?
But that's the actual name, and you air quoted it.
I know, but do people call it that? Do people use the full name anymore? Personal computers? Like, I have to go. Let me go. Hold on a second. I got to go get my personal computer.
I don't use personal. I use computer though.
All right, yeah.
I use computer.
We've sort of truncated it now, right? So computer.
Yeah.
Well, my
or if this was issue 286, it would be pewter.
Pewter. Right. Yeah.
Right. J.M. DeMatteis and was talking about Luther Manning doing his inner monologue with his pewter for Deathlock.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So anyway.
All right. So let's get to T-shirt worthy. I'm going to go with page 15, the top panel. So that is basically we see the back of Captain America. It's almost like, and I don't know, I can't ask Paul Neary this, but you know that famous panel by Jack Kirby for Tales of Suspense 59, where Cap, quote unquote, gets his own series, and it's he's jumping out of the window, and there's glass flying everywhere, and it's him, and he's got his legs bent and his arms out. It's almost like the back version of that, right? Where Cap's jumping in that same Kirby fashion, but it's the back of him instead of the front of him. And what is he doing? Well, he's battling all the foes. He's got Porcupine and Scourge and all these guys that he's fighting. So I thought that was a cool panel that would be T-shirt worthy.
All right, that's a good selection. That's a good selection.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate the affirmation.
Yeah. Well, I'm all about validation. Right. So I'm going to go. I think it's page 12. It's the center panel. Is it page 12? It could be page 11. Page 12. I think it's page 12. But it's the one where Cap is running headlong, pushing the table into Scourge, Porcupine, and the Ultimatum Agent, right? Taking all three of them out in one fell swoop.
Yeah. I like that. That's a good. That make a good T-shirt.
Yeah. The only thing would be better if it had his whole left foot. It's a little bit off panel, but I'll take it.
Seriously.
Well, I call it as I see him.
Okay. All right. Yep. No, that's a good choice by you. Okay, so that's a wrap on Captain America. What number, Bob?
Was it 328? 326. Just kidding, folks.
Yeah. So I know I already mentioned next episode. Next episode for episode 108, which is our first Wednesday of the month, which is when we do our typically our interviews with our guests. We are bringing back to the show Professor Dr. Mark White. We haven't seen him since episode 30, so it's been quite some time, but that's the author of The Virtues of Captain America, which is a great book. I know it's one of your favorite books, Bob.
Oh, it is. I love it.
Yeah. And so Mark White, who's also a member of our Captain America comic book fans Facebook community, and he's a great guy. We love having him back, and we're going to do kind of like a listener Q&A, right? So we're going to ask some philosophical questions to Professor White, and he's going to answer, what would Cap do? Right? What would Cap do? And then, hopefully maybe he'll cite some examples of, issues of Captain America where based on this, he would do that. Bob, do you ever take a philosophy class in college or anything like that?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. I had to, required. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that, the questions in those classes were like, okay, if, you're faced with this situation, how would this philosopher handle this? Like how would Descartes, handle this one? How would, shut up. How was Socrates handle this one?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Pluto. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Plato, Socrates, all the big ones. Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so if anybody watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, they would get the reference. Anyway, so that's what we're going to try to do with Professor White. All right. It's like, here's a philosophical, what would Cap do? And he's going to say, yeah. And maybe he'll get into some references. I'm putting a lot of pressure on him right now.
You really are. Really. Yeah. And the thing is, when we talked to Mark about his book, and I don't remember exactly, but I remember that the book went up to, I think, around volume 5, right? I think he started, I think the book wound down. And it was certainly after Civil War. So I'm not quite sure where it went up to, but there's been a lot of material since then. And I know Mark has continued to read Captain America. So there's volume 6, volume 7, volume 8, volume 9. There's the current volume. And so he may draw on, who knows, right? I don't know. I hate to put pressure on him as well, but he may draw on subsequent material that came out post the book, which we talked about in the episode, to answer some of these questions.
I think he's actually working on a next volume.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, we could talk to him about that.
Yeah,
I think he is. I think he's working on the next volume. So come back next episode, folks, for that, because that'll be a lot of. I love talking philosophically, just about, just wrapping Cap with fellow Cap fans and especially those who have studied him, like Dr. White. So I'm really looking forward to the next episode. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, let's do this.
All right, as always, Bob, it's been fun wrapping Cap with you.
It has. It was a real surprise, but a pleasant one. Right?
Hey, Bob, what are we doing next episode?
Something about something.
Excellent. All right. All right. He's Bob Lucius. I'm Rick Verbanis. And as always, you have been listening to another episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast.